Our FYI program this Thursday morning, Clinton Mayor Scott Maddasion, our guest, kind of rambled on a couple of topics. And to start off, maybe going back to something that was from the council meeting Tuesday, and that was something that a lot of people have been talking about. I know you've been looking at the Bluff manufacturing rebuild. Even before you became mayor, the city started seeking some federal funds for that project. I would say got lucky, got skillful, or got refined the application, got some of that federal money. I guess, I don't know where you want to start. Work's not going to start tomorrow. People may want it to be there tomorrow, but on that roadway, anyway, maybe cost-wise, funding-wise, I think Jason means it's $30-something million. Yep. You got $15 million from the federal grant. How's this all funded if it's $30-something million?
Sure. Yeah. I'd like to think that the reason we got it this year was the trip to DC that we had. I think we had a good application, but we actually went out there and got face to face with legislators and said, hey, we got to get this done. And so hopefully that was what really put us over the top. But you're right. It's a $38.1 million project. The raise grant was $15 million. We asked for 19. They gave us 15. Would have liked to have 19, but we'll take $15 million of our hard-earned tax dollars to come back to Clinton. 15.2 of that is the city of Clinton, which will be kind of a mix of different things. Some of it will be bonding. Some of it could be road use money. And then we're going to get $7.9 million from the Iowa DOT and the RPA 8. So we get dollars through our RPA, which is the regional planning affiliation. We get dollars from the state based on the gas tax and different things like that. So we've been banking that money. It's roughly $600K every year, and we've been banking that for the last 4 years. And we're going to use all of those funds towards this project. So they've been earmarked for that. And then, unfortunately, we were ready to kind of get going and start construction on the manufacturing side. But because manufacturing in Bluff was submitted as one project to the federal government, we see it as two phases. They see it as one project. So we have to kind of go back to the drawing board on our first phase, which was manufacturing, and redo, I guess not necessarily redo, but just add some things to the environmental studies and different things like that, because the federal government has a lot more strict standards when it comes to certain projects types like these. The state developed their own program, which kind of eliminates some of the federal standards, and we were following the state procedure. And we did that perfectly, but we got to follow the federal procedure. So we're looking at 18 to 30 months before we really kind of get going on this project. And it depends on how quickly we get all the environmental stuff done. So last meeting on Tuesday, we're going out for bids for engineering firms. So there's a very specific process and how you can do the bids and then the qualifiers for those contractors. So we'll be going out for bids. We need to get our top three that we like, and then there'll be a committee with the engineer and some other folks in the city to kind of pick out which one is the best fit for Clinton, and then we'll hire them and go forward. So it's exciting. It's just going to take us a little bit longer. I think Jason said about by 2027. 2027 we'll have the project completed. So, but again, this is not an asphalt overlay. This is a full reconstruction. Iowa American Water and Alliant Energy are going to do a lot of things with their infrastructure that's in the right of ways and underneath the roads. We're going to upgrade sewers. We're going to do a lot of different things. So this is a very large project.
In this design, I know there's been probably, I don't know if it's the same design they started out with years ago, but even straighten out some of the intersections. You're doing some work along that route, because some of the intersections on that Bluff manufacturing area are a little off.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because obviously the city's portion is the $15 million of the project. We're hoping that we can get some more traffic safety improvement grants from the state of Iowa on some of those intersections. So we're going to apply like Thurwaldson, right there on Bluff. That's a very weird intersection, and I know that's one that we're going to apply to try to get some of the TSIP money too. So hopefully we can lower the taxpayers' overall cost for this project by continuing to get some more grants for those different intersections to straighten them out.
When this is all done, you said, it could be, I think Jason said 2024 before I actually see any work done.
Yeah.
And maybe some headaches along the way. What's going to be the advantage when it's all done, put up with the headaches? People may forget. Now we're talking about this 4, 5, 6, 7 years from now when it's done. They look back and go, wow, it's over.
Yeah. I mean, what it's going to do is, obviously we just mentioned the intersections that are skewed. It's going to straighten some things out and eliminate the safety hazards at a lot of intersections along Bluff. On manufacturing side, it's going to widen it because there are some trucks and things that are along that road. So it's going to give us some more space. It's going to make better access to there's a lot of businesses along the manufacturing. So it's just going to give better access to those as well. And just the sheer traffic flow and a couple things that are going to be done. It's just going to make it a much more pleasant drive through there. I mean, if you go there at 3:30 after Nestle lets out their shift, I mean, it's kind of a mess. So a lot of things to help traffic flow. And there's also, things we don't think about. It's going to make a biking path along there so that you could actually walk or bike out to those retail places or the jobs along the way there. Because right now there's not a lot of sidewalk along there. So you now could, essentially from all the way down by where the Ashford campus is, you could hop on the path and ride all the way out to Walmart. And get your stuff and then come home, on a bike path. So I think that's important too, because it just makes the walkability and the bikeability much more capable in that corridor. So you're not riding, necessarily on the road.
Is that manufactured at one point? I guess you're hiring an engineering firm. Yeah. Maybe if you've seen the plans, I think manufacturing would be 4 lanes. Bluff was the 3,
right?
The middle turn. Going to be redesigned some of that with you getting a new engineering firm working on this. One firm designed all these plans. They outlined this for the grant. Do you know what that process might be? Will we see some further refinement of those plans, some differing things there when somebody else comes and looks at it?
So my understanding is the manufacturing side is pretty much designed. In those designs, we should be able to use those for the project. Now, that's not saying that if a different firm comes in, they may have like a different idea, like, hey, maybe we should do this or that, and they'll adjust it. But for the most part, the main design for that, we should be able to use as long as the design fits with the environmental studies and all that kind of stuff that are now going to be added in addition by the federal government, which I think those should be fine. So we won't have to reinvent the wheel there, but again, we don't know. And then maybe the firm that we worked with, McClure Engineering, they might win the bid. I don't know that. Or maybe they won't bid. I don't know.
I guess doing this, has this been a topic? One of the councilors mentioned he's gotten a lot of questions about it. Has this been a topic as you tour around, people want to get this done?
Yeah, they do. I mean, obviously, it's been 4 years that we've been applying for funds, 4 years we've been preparing. And I think people are ready to see it get started, but we're going to be delayed a little bit just because, when they say, hey, you get $15 million, the government doesn't just write us a check and we put it in the account and we start going. There's a lot of things that we have to follow. So, we got to wait a little bit more to get it rolling. But again, it's $15 million for a great project that we're not going to have to take out of our the tax base here locally. I think anytime we can get federal, because we all pay federal income tax, anytime some of those dollars can come back to Clinton itself, I think is a good thing. And it just shows the merit of the project that we were the only place in Iowa that received a raise grant this year. It just shows how good of an application we had.
Beyond this, I know, and we've probably talked about this and before, will this project, in the long run, has been discussion that maybe we haven't been privy to or see any secrets. Will this, I guess, change any of the street maintenance plan or the city spending an X number of dollars to fix and repair streets around town? Is this big project going to impact that kind of annual work and we'll see some of these other streets continue to deteriorate that maybe haven't been addressed yet?
We're going to continue with the pavement management program. Now in FY25 through FY27, which is a few years out, you will see some of the pavement management programs scaled back a little bit to fit in the manufacturing drive pieces. But that's already been in the plan. It's just going to be pushed down the road a little bit because our thought was we were going to have to borrow a little bit earlier in the process as we start manufacturing. But since we're getting pushed back a couple years, we can just continue with pavement management now and then work our way to the piece where we have to scale it back a little bit. So I'm hoping that we can, this year we had great weather, so we got a lot done. Hopefully over the next couple years, we can continue to have good weather and get a lot of these other projects done around the city. So our thought is we're going to scale back a little bit when we need it for manufacturing, but for the most part, we want to stay diligent on the pavement management program as we've projected.
In a couple of years as mayor, streets been a topic you hear a lot about?
I don't hear much about them anymore. I hear a lot of historic, however many years ago, the streets were terrible and we're getting there, which is good. We're getting there. That means we're making progress. And I know there's still a lot of streets around town that need some work. And we're going to get there. It's just going to take us some time. Unfortunately, money is not unlimited and we have to prioritize. And that's what the council has to do is make those tough decisions based on engineering estimates. So, if you have concerns, you can always reach out to me, your council member or city engineering department, and we'll try to get stuff done as quick as possible. But again, just got to be patient because there's 151 miles of road that we're responsible for in Clinton. And we all know the cost of that stuff, and we can't all just knock it out in one shot.
Another topic we mentioned this so you could do a little work on it was came to mind the other day when seeing some of these trains at Canadian Pacific tracks that people probably most familiar with right along Riverfront. Obviously, it runs all the way through town. I guess we'll say north to south. Been talked about the trains blocking Riverfront Park, the noise at the intersections, the city going out the quiet zones. What's the latest update? Are we ever going to get those trains to go through at least some parts of town without horns? Because I know it seems like it's constant many times because those intersections a lot of times are closed. I know there's requirements. We've heard the stories. At each intersection, they have to do certain things. And
right.
Some of these intersections are feet apart. And
right.
It just seems like, especially down in the downtown area.
Yep.
Where's the quiet zone project stand? What do we know?
So it's a 3-phase project. We've finished phases 1 and 2. We're moving into phase 3 this year. We're looking at I have all the data on here, which I'm trying to find the street names, but basically north of 9th Avenue North, we have some crossings that we need to close, just like we did down on the south end there near downtown. So once those get closed, and then the intersections that are going to remain open, once we put the proper medians and things in so that people can't do U-turns, we'll have all that complete. And at that point, it'll trigger Canadian Pacific to be able to send a team in, and they're going to replace the arms on all the crossings that remain open, which basically will cover both sides so you can't get around it. And then the median in the middle will allow you have to stay in the lane. You can't go anywhere. So once that happens and all those arms get in, the quiet zones will be complete, and they have to complete all of them before the horns will stop. So even if they did one down on like 6th Avenue there, and they don't have the rest of them done, the horns are going to remain throughout the entire city until all of the crossings are completed, because at that point, that whole area is a quiet zone and then they can go through. So over the next 6 to 12 months, we should be seeing that project completed, as long as there's no delays with Canadian Pacific and their crews. Our engineering department's on ready to roll and get the stuff done. So it'll be in their hands once we finish that.
So look, hopefully by next, may not be this summer, people, especially down
right.
Riverfront this summer, may not get the quiet zones by then, but maybe.
Yeah, hopefully it warms up and the snow goes away and we can get started a little earlier on some stuff, and then maybe we can get it done before, fall time frame. But at least 12 months to get the project completed.
And too, you've talked about, the city administrator mentioned, there's a few of those intersections that can't be quiet zones because of access and some things like that, which is right in the kind of for one night.
Jewel Osco,
custom
area,
pack, custom pack area.
Yeah.
They'll still be. It won't be completely quiet from north to south.
So there'll be those 4 crossings. There's 4 crossings there that you'll hear about 16 horn blows there. But the other 72 horns that you hear through there will be eliminated. So I think that's a good compromise, and there's just not enough space for us to get the quiet zones done along there because the businesses are quite close to the tracks, and then obviously that road basically parallels the tracks. So,
you mentioned Canadian Pacific. I know you've mentioned you had some talks with them, and if you pay attention to the business side, Canadian Pacific is merging with another company. We really haven't talked about much locally on what that means as far as traffic. Assuming that merger goes through, I know it's not finalized yet, but it's on the way.
Right.
That means this quiet zone issue may become more important because there's going to be more trains through here that could tie things up. So people maybe a few years away yet, but that traffic is going to increase.
We're probably, as long as the merger goes through, we're looking probably 2 to 3 years out before we see a heavy increase in train traffic through there. We're about 10 right now a day. I think, is that a day or a week? I think it's a day.
I think it's a day.
Yeah, 10 a day, and then we're probably going to end up in the 20 range if the merger is completed. Now, the merger, once the merger is complete, that doesn't mean the increase is going to start right away. They have a lot of infrastructure stuff that they have to do along their track before the train increase will actually start, because they're set up for a certain amount of trains, and they can't just flip a switch and then add them, because obviously it's one line, so there's a lot of logistics that they have to take care of along there, because trains got to be able to pull off and let other trains pass through, and then obviously their network needs to be upgraded. So 2 to 3 years out is kind of what they're expecting, but we're still have the guarantee that not all the crossings will be blocked. If a train has to stop, there's going to be access to the riverfront. Obviously we need to have that for safety and security purposes, so that ambulances, fire trucks, police, whoever needs to get over there can get over there if there was an emergency.
I guess in Canadian Pacific has generally have they completed their move out of the downtown area?
Yeah.
So that building now that people see that next to the park, Rotary Park.
Yep.
Is that in the city possession?
It's not in city possession yet. The last thing that is in discussion. So obviously that depot's from a long time ago. The Canadian Pacific needs a certain amount of right-of-way next to the tracks for their maintenance things and different things like that. And so they're still working out the right-of-way piece in that little vicinity. But all of their operations are now at the new depot in South Clinton. They don't have anybody operating out of that one. It's more of an abstract title kind of platting thing that we're working through with them, and it's not a negative. It's just when the lawyers got it, they were like, whoa, we got to figure this out. So I see that being done soon, and then we'll try to find out some sort of use for that building down there, because it's kind of a prime location. I mean, for a lot of things. Maybe we'll get someone to put a brew pub in there or something. That'd be kind of neat, wouldn't it?
Well, there's your investment opportunity.
I don't have any money. But maybe somebody else can come spend theirs.
Again, it is a location, so the city will own that. They could they can tear it down. They can build something else there. Whatever would happen to fit somebody's desire.
Yeah, I think just initial conversations with Matt and council members, we don't have any desire to tear it down necessarily. I think we want to try to find some sort of use for it, but obviously it's got to be something that's going to help the public and things like that. And we don't really have a lot of prospects at the moment, just because we don't officially own it. And once we do, then we can start marketing it and things like that. But Matt had a couple ideas, and I don't know exactly what we'll do with it. But nice problem to have. That's a good piece of property down there. So,
quick topics before we're done. Maybe talking downtown. Work underway at the Wilson Building now, turning that into apartments. That seems to be going well. What about like the Lafayette Building, some of those other projects? I know they didn't get the tax credits they wanted for the Lafayette building. Is that still on the table, or are they pulled out? Do you know, again, what's the behind the closed doors discussion on things like the Lafayette building?
The Lafayette is still on the table. I know the Bush Construction, who was applying for the tax credits, they worked out with the owner. Obviously, the city doesn't own that building. They worked it out with the owner and his people to continue the due diligence period so that Bush Construction can apply for those tax credits again, or do whatever they need to do to try to get the project rolling. So that is still on the table. I don't know when the deadlines or the process is to apply for that stuff. I think it's April, May timeframe to reapply for those things, but don't quote me on that. But I can always find out some more information on that, and then next time we're on, we can give an update.
But it's still under discussion. It hasn't
Absolutely.
been abandoned.
Correct. Yes.
Any other? I know there's. We mentioned a couple other housing developments, things like that. Everything, all the developments moving forward.
Yes.
You know of?
You can drive. Riverstone's got 2 structures up. If you drive by there on Springdale, they've got a couple up. And I know that the folks at Zara Heights are itching to get in there and start building. So they're hoping in the spring. I know the road didn't get quite completed and poured through before the weather kind of turned. So right away, as soon as they're able, I think Clinton Engineering is going to be in there to pour that road, and then at that point they can start putting some foundations in. So I know there's some folks that own lots in Zara Heights, and I'm sure they're itching to build their new home too.
So homes, yeah. Mayor, before we're done, New Year starts first time in January. What's your prediction for 2022?
I think we start budgets today at 3:00, so that's exciting. I think that we saw about a 2% growth in our assessed valuation. We just got that number in December. So we're growing as a community, which is nice. We had a few things that hit us pretty hard over the last couple of years with the MLK cap station coming offline, and then ADM had some appeal stuff that they had on their assessed values. So we've recovered from all of those losses in our assessed valuation now. Some things came online out near the casino area. So hopefully with all the housing and the new developments, we're going to continue to see things progress and move forward. Financially, like I said in the State of the City a month or so ago, we're in good shape. I think we're going to continue to be in good shape as we're going through the budget. And, we got a couple things at the rail park that are cooking, and hopefully in February, both of those will be done, solidified, and we can start really hammering out there and seeing a lot of construction in that area as well.
On the budget, I know it's a 4 or 5 meeting process.
Yeah.
Is the city going to be able to hold the tax rate? Do you know, have you got that far yet? Talking to Anita and Matt behind.
Honestly,
haven't told you.
Haven't had that discussion yet. I know that it's my thoughts, and I think a lot of council members are the same, that we want to try to keep that levy the same as if we can lower it, that's great. But I'm not a fan of raising it unless we absolutely have to. But I don't think that'll be necessary this year. So I've got a list of questions on a legal pad. So I'll have a meeting with Matt and Anita and kind of get my questions answered as we're going into budget season. But we don't know yet, I guess. I think by the end, I think general fund is usually when that levy discussion comes into play. And that's probably still 3 meetings out, I think.
Usually the last meeting.
Yeah, it's usually the last meeting, and
sometimes Anita drops it a hint ahead of time.
Yeah, we have some council members too that are going to be out towards the end of the month. So my thought is I don't want to go through the general fund budget unless I have all 7 there. So I want to make sure that all 7 council members are there for the general fund, because obviously that pays for most of everything. That's the biggest thing. And when we're having levy discussions and borrowing discussions and things, I think it's important that all 7 are present. So we'll make sure that we get that set up. So probably, I would bet beginning of February, that first week in February is probably when those discussions will happen.
Well, stay tuned for that. And also to give you a chance to plug boards, commissions, committees. You still need people. What about citizen involvement? can you always use applications?
We always can use applications for boards and commissions. And I will tell you this, obviously I didn't go to a board and commission. I, went right running for
Right to the
mayor.
mayor.
Yeah. And I got, I was lucky enough to get support and be here, but, it's been really eye-opening, and it's been a really wonderful experience over the last 2 years to kind of be involved in the city. And I recommend that, if you're thinking about doing it, just take the leap. Do a board and commission first, run for council when seats are open, do something, because I think it really gives you a different perspective on the community in a very positive way. So, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me too, and I can answer questions on what's available. And just on that note, the Mayor's Youth Commission hasn't been used in quite a while, and I've been working with the Synergy folks at Clinton High School, and we've got a really good plan together, and you're going to see the Mayor's Youth Commission coming back online here in the next few months. So I'm excited for that.
Thanks to Clinton Mayor Scott Maddasion for coming in for our program this morning. And thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
You're listening to AM 1340 KROS, Clinton.